I do want to go ahead and give thanks to Camp Hustle. He did put me on A Fresh New Start, the podcast. I didn't know about it. I wasn't aware of it until he brought it up. And he's kind of the reason why I'm making this video. So Fresh came out with a new podcast and he decided to name it A Fresh New Start. And it was boring. Not because there was no entertainment value at all, which there wasn't, but because I wasn't interested in the topic. Now, quickly, I do want to go ahead and just introduce to you guys who Fresh and Fit is, because I know there's some viewers that don't know who these people are. They are a comedy duo. I mean, they are self-help gurus that help men become much better than they were previously. And essentially, they have a podcast where they bring on women and demean the women whenever they step out of line.
And look, I see some of y'all uncomfortable. Cool. You don't like it? Get the f up and leave right now. Who has an issue with the way I'm talking?
You can.
Who has an issue with the way I'm running my show? If you got a problem, get up and leave right now. Because I don't give a f. I really don't.
There you go.
Get the f out of here.
And
Why
I even came here just to see Smiley.
Get the f out of here.
Y'all
Okay.
friends, by the way, so.
Get the f up out of here.
She could have dropped the pencil on the floor and Myron would have called that an earthquake. And if you're wondering, does he do this to the men? Absolutely not, which is typical behavior from Myron. But going back to the whole introduction, that's who Fresh and Fit are. They're essentially just a podcast that just craps on women and tries to expose men to the truth. But yeah, we already know it's rigged against the women. So yeah, anyways, it doesn't matter. The point is that Fresh started a podcast and it was pretty boring for me. If you're one of those guys that likes to have like that flashy lifestyle where you're constantly chasing women, you like women to be very, very feminine, then this podcast is most likely for you. But as somebody like myself who isn't into that kind of lifestyle, this podcast was relatively boring. And I do want to go ahead and say that like I like Fresh and Myron, but not because I agree with them. It's mainly because unfortunately for them, their show at least has unintentionally transitioned into a comedy show. But when it comes to A Fresh New Start, all the comedy just thrown out the window. Not to mention the fact that they're still bringing on sketchy guests like Casey Redbeard, who is also a pickup artist and loves to discuss the dynamics between men and women relationships. He ended up uploading a very, very controversial video. Unfortunately for you guys, I can't show you guys the video because unfortunately he privatized it or he took it down. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist online. Yours truly, of course, Abba and Preach discussed the topic.
Title of this video, it's not me saying this, why I like dating teenagers as a 36-year-old man. Some people just like self-reporting.
I'm at the point now where I'm seriously only considering dating actual teenagers, 18 and 19 years old, because women do not come pre-assembled. This is a quote from my good friend, client, and now business partner, Myron Gaines.
We're good.
He name drops Myron Gaines. That is insane. Obviously not a good look at all. I mean, I don't know why he thought that was a good idea to package it like that. Because I know that he was trying to say 18 and 19-year-olds because he knows that people are going to get triggered by the vocabulary. That's not the only controversy he's been in. He's been in others as well. Like, for instance, he's been accused of having Diddy-like parties, engaging in a lot of illicit activities. And I believe it's in the same video where he's kind of complaining about how no woman is coming out to defend him.
So apparently this guy used to run some kind of like Diddy-esque parties, allegedly. And he's talking about this right now.
It's just a front. These are like parties. There's parties going on there. 200 women had just like stood up for what was right. Then it would have been nipped in the bud. It would have been, but of course, and I asked these girls, hey, will some of you guys like defend me? Like, you guys know what's going on? Oh, my reputation, I can't be, I don't want to get involved. What do you mean get involved? Just tell the truth.
People don't want to defend you because you're f***ing weird. You really titled this video, Why I Date Teenagers as a 36-year-old Man. You wonder why people don't want to defend you?
Because it's weird.
If Preach put out that video, I'm throwing him under the bus. You know what I'm saying? Good luck, nigga.
That is exceptionally brutal for Preach. Now, I want to go ahead and just kind of like critique A Fresh New Start. I want to critique the podcast because there is a ton of mistakes. Obviously, he's going to improve as time goes on, but I do want to go ahead and just kind of showcase to you guys how kind of amateurish the entire podcast is. The entire podcast takes place in his home, which is, I think, a good idea. It just feels so much more organic than having a professional setting like Fresh and Fit. Another thing is that Fresh is exceptionally terrible with the soundboard. His microphone is relatively low, while his sound effects are concert leveled loud.
Guys, real quick, we got some chats here on Rumble. Gaz says, shout out to Captain Redbeard, Don DeMarco for you. Welcome back. Xander says, hey Fresh, if you guys have free after hours tonight.
The reason why you're listening to it in a very low volume is because if I crank it up, Your speaker will now become a weapon of mass destruction. You know what would be really cruel? If your friend is asleep and you play a prank on them by using that segment of Fresh's podcast. Another thing is that if you are into that lifestyle of picking up women and pretending to be rich, then you're most likely going to enjoy this podcast, because that's kind of like what Fresh is about, and of course Casey as well. And yeah, by the end of those podcasts, you're most likely going to have an autographed poster of Fresh. And the reason why I speculate on that is because of a couple of statements that Casey said. Again, it almost sounds like he's living by the philosophy, fake it till you make it. They didn't have a full-blown conversation about it, but he did just kind of make a slight remark. And if you don't believe me, let me go ahead and just demonstrate to you guys how Casey said it.
Private jets,
Cars.
jewelry, cars. And here's the thing. Everyone's thinking, oh, well, I don't have a private jet or a photo with Andrew Tate. We're going to talk more about that. You just have to look high status. I don't think his Instagram is like achievable to the average person.
So Casey said here that you just have to look high status. Look high status. Keywords. What that says to me is that you just have to have the aesthetic. You don't have to actually be living the lifestyle. Now, I would want clarification from him, because I don't think that this is exactly what he means, but the way he packages it, it just sounds terrible. And you can kind of tell what he's trying to go for, because he also gives examples in the podcast of how these men used to look compared to how they look now when they actually touch up their photos. But considering who Fresh is, I cannot give him the benefit of the doubt, only because he's hanging around with Fresh, and Fresh is known for lying about his status and his lifestyle. And I'm not saying that he's lying about like having like expensive cars and all of that. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how he's like claiming that like he doesn't have escorts and all of that stuff, which is funny because somebody ended up calling him out on that podcast, exposing Fresh for paying for box. And if you don't know what box means, essentially it's just code word for a woman's reproductive organ.
This dumb in the chat, Jessica Princess, Kissy pays for box. Yo, I've known this nigga forever. He don't pay for shit. Actually, and neither do I, you dumb. Anyhow.
Fresh is lying. Okay, this is why he can't play truth or dare, because he can never tell the truth. If you guys don't know about the escort story, essentially he paid an escort to be with him. He ended up paying half of a Van Cleef bracelet, which is worth about $30,000. And a lot of people speculate that the only reason why he was even gifting this escort any gifts was so he can have intimate relations with her. Obviously, if you make a woman feel a certain way, she's going to be open 24 hours a day. Overall, I don't know if there's going to be people that are going to actually stick around to watch his podcast. I mean, it's entirely possible. And this is for you, Cam. I don't know if you're asking this question, but am I going to be watching the A Fresh Start podcast? Absolutely not, man. What do you think that this is? Absolutely not. There is no entertainment value. There's nothing for me to laugh at. So if there's nothing there for me to laugh at, what was the point? You know, like I'm not into that lifestyle. So yeah, it's really all I have for you guys, and I'll see you guys next video.